Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live streaming of commentary of Grandmaster Atalik Suet. Today is the fourth round ongoing, and he will be commenting games from the third round. Here you are.
Thanks. Okay, so our first game is Jovana Vojinovic again, white against Antoaneta Stefanova. We have to mention a couple of things that obviously Vojinovic's result is very important for Serbian chess in this tournament since she is the highest rated Serbian player in the tournament, and she is always playing among the first boards, which is very important. I mean, her father is also a chess player and our colleague, and I believe that she had serious advantage at the beginning of the game with former world champion Antoaneta Stefanova. So let's take a look. Okay, Nimzo Indian defense. This is something what Stefanova is not going every day for. I mean, she is a really big expert on Slav systems. But okay, Vojinovic is well prepared, and she goes Queen C2. Sometimes known as classical variation or Capablanca variation. Many people tried this. It's a very solid variation for white, who wants to keep his pawn structure, wants to react all these bishop c3s by queen c3. But on the other hand, the deficiency of the system, if there is any deficiency, that white lags in development in many of the lines. Okay, Stefanova plays knight c6, an almost forgotten line. I believe at the beginning, of the first years of this variation, knight c6 enjoyed some popularity. I had a very tough game myself with Iordachescu, the Moldavian grandmaster, and I've chosen e3 in that game. What Jovana plays after knight c6, she comes with knight f3, the most logical move, and comes d6. In my opinion, it is better than d5 type of systems. Also, black could have decided to move her d pawn after having castled, but white plays very consistent, goes for the exchange, gets the bishop pair, but loses some more time in development. This is one of the balanced positions. Both sides should be very careful, because white has the pair of bishops, and it looks like she is enjoying the space advantage a little bit as well. But this is one of the flexible systems. That's why Nimzo Indian is a very popular defense. That once white starts expanding herself, she may also run into danger. Here is a very important junction point, that bishop g5, which is a common move for this type of positions. I am not really fan of this move, especially in this particular position, because in my opinion, this really doesn't suit white's plans. Then comes something like g3 or b3 in mind. I really do not like what white has played here. It really worked for this game, but I find it a little bit dangerous, because black in this particular position should have played a5. Now the problem is, after the pawn advances, Black goes back with knight b8, so she is ready to play b6, bishop b7, and knight bd7. And really the pawn would have been better placed on b4. But she doesn't do it, and she starts playing a very dangerous game. I mean, she's really playing with fire. She goes e5, they exchange on e5. White plays bishop b2 and black plays e4. Since the pawn was threatened, she advances to e4. Now, let's try to check the dynamics in this position. White has two bishops, a tremendous bishop on b2. Really, the scope is very big. And what does black have for that? Once the position was close to a couple of moves before, like we mentioned, black had a decent situation, but here it looks very dangerous. And it took me a lot of time. Yesterday when I was checking this game, it took me a lot of time, you know, like to prove an advantage for white. Because one problem in such situations, we really have to strike, you know, in this particular moment. If white loses it, if white loses the momentum in the game, black will play normal moves. Black will castle, maybe play bishop d7, then maybe put this bishop to a4, maybe pushes c5. So moves like e3, castles, bishop e2 doesn't impress very much. If we castle a little bit too early with, you know, with the long castle, then a5 may be a slight problem, although long castle obviously fits the plan. And this is a very typical example for two particular things. Number one thing is that in this particular situation, always, you know, we should remember that we have to open the lines to achieve something. Strange enough, the very strong move here is g4. That's an advantage of keeping the pawn on e2 as well. Now, first let's see what happens if the sacrifice is accepted. Now white castles long, and he's already threatening rook g1. So there is no good place for black's king, and this is tremendously dangerous. Threatens rook g1, threatens queen g3. It's really dangerous. I mean, now we also put this rook into the game with the devastating effect. And if black refuses the sacrifice and just castles, thinking also that, okay, her camp is on fire, but also she may start some attack on the queen side. Now comes very solid advantage with queen e5. After the exchange of queens, which is almost forced because this guy is about to fall, I think white's advantage is noticeable. It's really, I mean, if Vojinovic would have played like this, now I could have commented this game, you know, in a different way. This was the moment she really lost it. And she has chosen a plan which surprised everybody. Okay, there is always this important saying that even not to do, I mean, even the worst plan is better than doing nothing. But actually, if she would have done nothing, let's say if she would have played h3, e3, or e3, h3, bishop e2, castles, just a couple of moves, she would still have an advantage. But she has chosen an extremely strange plan. She deployed the queen to this side. Now she went for the queen and minor bishop exchange. I mean, already in this opening, like we have said, white is usually lagging in development. And losing another 2 tempi, she has given Stefanova the upper hand. Came the desired minor piece exchange. It's easily seen that black doesn't have a good structure in the king side, but on the other hand, there is no danger. And structure-wise, there is no danger. And let's not forget, now she wants to play c6. And indeed, it became really dangerous for white. We say dangerous, I mean, but how much dangerous? The problem is b6 will fall, or like in the game, in a really slightly different way, white has corrected the pawn. But the structure doesn't allow black to really play for a win. This is really very critical here. And in this position, white is once again in crossroads. White can choose a rook's endgame or a bishop's endgame. I am more for the bishop's endgame because there the draw is really certain. I mean, I would have chosen one way or another. Something like this position, followed by simple plan, protecting b3 square. I don't know, some king move. And then going for the bishop's exchange. Here I believe that the draw is certain. It's just once, okay, in this side black is worse, on the other side she's a pawn up, but really it's impossible to make use of the pawn. This would immediately end up in a draw. Okay, but with her developed sense of danger, maybe this was a too long plan in some way. She has chosen to castle short. As usual, came the attack. And the forced line after that. So now white is threatening to protect the pawn. And in case of exchanges, which has happened in the game, black entered b2, attack the pawn from c2 square. A careful move by white. Came the following endgame. So the first moves, I mean, it's very stereotypic. Obviously, if we change this position of the rooks, black would have more chances. Although the c passer is very close to the other pawns, the main pawn island and the king side. And I will say, like, we have to here make some small generalizations, you know, like we have to remind people that from all these passers, the most dangerous ones usually are the B passers. A passers usually are known to be not so dangerous. C and D passers from the queen side, if we divide the board into two, are also close to the king, so it is also difficult to throw your king to the other side. And here, objectively speaking, with white on the move, it looks like a draw, but I don't know, she really thought like whatever she will play, it will be a draw. I mean, the normal move here is obviously g4. After black puts the rook on c2, it's not like e4, e4 is not moving, but we gotta have, you know, f4 for the white's king, and we stabilize the structure. I mean, in this part of the game, really, she played king h2, rook c2, king g3, king g7, rook c8, f5, rook c6, cutting the king, which is a good move. White has to be a little bit careful. Now black's problem is like she will put the pawn on f6, but it will be extremely difficult for her king to sail towards the queen side, risking to lose all these pawns. So came c4, rook c5, king g6, rook c6, f6, rook c7. Now, once again, she cut her from the 7th. If black will do nothing, it will be a draw. This is one of the positions that black could also risk a little bit. I mean, I believe that circumstances call for some slightly risky play like f4. At least taking some chance. If the pawn takes on f4, now all of a sudden the king may circle to the other side. Maybe black can even sacrifice the pawn on h7. But possibly in our position, somehow Stefanova didn't like the massive exchanges. Despite of the fact she wins another pawn, this kind of 2 against 1 is really toothless. It's impossible to win, as we know the famous endgame A and C, or H and F against rook. Technically speaking, also results in a draw if the pawns are back. But there the defense, of course, there are some critical moments when the weaker side has to really show how to defend it. And here we got the E pawn, where really in this level the win is impossible. But I believe it was at least a small try, because after what she has come up with, I mean, in this moment it was obvious that she pushed c3. She let the game ended up as a draw. She never pushed this f4. Maybe that was still possible after, especially with the king on h2, to push f5 and trying to bring the king. I think she had enough, you know, like of this game, and say like, draw with black, maybe with white I will score more. So this was our first game. Should we give a break?
Make a break of